Tav Chav Zayin Amid Aleph will begin Tav Chav Vav Amid Beis, 3 lines from the bottom of the beginning of the Gemara. Tanam Hofstedter v'nituchan shel bezar. The skinning and the cutting into pieces, the dismembering of the korban is kosher bezar. It does not have to be done by a kohen. A non-kohen can perform these functions. From where do we know that that's the case? Shenemar, the pasuk says, it says that the Kahanim should put Eish al Mizbeach. The pasuk says, "V'nasim be'aron hakayin Eish al Mizbeach, v'orcha eitzim al ha'eish, v'orcha eitzim al ha'eish." So it says, "V'nasim b'nei aron hakayin Eish al Mizbeach." We make a diuk, nesinas eish b'oi kahuna. The putting of the fire, the placement of the fire requires a kain, but hafshadroni tuach loy b'oi kahuna. But we exclude something else. This requires a kain, but something else does not require a kain. What do you mean? Hami boile legufei? You need to teach us that it itself. You have to teach us that for the placement of the fire, that you need a kain, for this. And as the Taiz Shanu explains, we wouldn't have known it without the pasuk, because this is not something that's ma'akiv the kapara. This is something that it's not ma'akiv the kapara. It's not essential for the kapara, and therefore I might have thought you don't need a kain. So therefore, I need the pasuk to teach me, though you do need a kain for this. So it's not extra to be medayik that something else doesn't need a kain. Amarav Shimi Bar Ashi Ashkachle Abaya. He said he came upon Abaya to have a Masbel and Brei, who was explaining this limud of Chizkiah to his son. So he said that the quoted the following. It says V'shachat. It says V'shachat. He shechs the korban. So we darshan the pasuk. It says V'shachat. The pasuk says V'shachat as ben abakar l'fnei Hashem. V'ikrivu b'nei Aaron hakayin Adam. V'zarku es Adam al mizbeach sava sharpes hal moed. So the pasuk says V'shachat is ben abakar. It doesn't say kayin, and then it says V'ikrivu b'nei Aaron hakayin. By the hakrova from the Kabbalah, it says, but after the shlit is the Kabbalah Saddam. There it says a kayin. So therefore we darshan shchita b'zar ksher, that the shchita with zar is kosher. V'chi me'ayin basa. Where do you come from to say that we need a limud for this? Why would I have thought that you need a kohen? Mechatei say that you would need a kohen. It doesn't say a kohen by the shchita. So because we would have thought that you need a kohen because miklal shenemar va'ata uvanecha itcha tishmeres kunas, because it says a pasuk, it says va'ata uvanecha itcha tishmeres kunas kam l'chol dvar mizbeach l'beis ha'roprayot v'avatem. So there it says for everything regarding to the mizbeach you need a kohen. So I therefore would have thought that includes everything for the Mizbeach. Sheme'ani afil shchita. I would have thought to say, therefore, that includes shchita as well. Talmud loymar. Therefore, we have a limud to say v'shachat es ben abakar l'fnei Hashem v'ikrivu b'nei Aaron hakayin Adam. Therefore, it says the pasuk v'shachat es ben abakar. It doesn't say kayin. Then it says v'ikrivu b'nei Aaron hakahanim. By the Kabbalah, it says a kayin. Therefore, we darshan mikabbalah ve'elach mitzvah kahuna. Where does the mitzvah kahuna? Where does the requirement of a kain start? It starts from kabbalah ve'elach, kabbalah and onwards. But shchita, which comes prior to that, which is before that, does not require a kain. So therefore, the pasuk says v'samach yadai v'shachat. It says samach, which is b'bailim. It says shachat. Now, I wouldn't have known without this diuk. I wouldn't have known. Does the shachat, is it like smicha, which is with a bailim with a zar, or is it with a kayin? Now that we have this limud al shchita sheksher b'zar. So now we have this limud that teaches us that shchita is ksher b'zar. Fact, the Gemara mechti mikabbalah ve'elach mitzvah kahuna. So now, since we know this, we have this principle which we just established that mikabbalah ve'elach has a mitzvah kuna. That's where the mitzvah kuna starts. It's from Kabbalah and onward. Therefore, v'nasim b'nei Aaron lamali. So why does it say over there that b'nei Aaron put the fire on the mizbeach? They placed the fire on the mizbeach. So why does it have to tell us that you need there a kain? So therefore, so that's pshat. It's the Hezber. He taught the son that's the Hezber in the Chizkiya's drasha. Therefore, since that is extra, it's extra to teach you limute hefshet v'nituach. Therefore, it's extra to teach us that excludes hefshet v'nituach, the skinning, the flaying, and the dismembering. That does not require a kayan. There, it is not required to be with a kayan. No, I still need this pasuk. I still need the pasuk to tell me that the putting of the placement of the fire has to be done by a kain. It's not extra. Why is that? Because I would have thought to say that yes, it's true, even though it's written after the Kabbalah, even though it's after the Kabbalah, but still, nevertheless, since it's an avodah, it's not Makiv Kapara, it's not essential to the Kapara, I still would have thought to say perhaps like the Boy Kahuna, that you don't need a Kayan. And therefore, Kamashal on the Boy Kahuna, and therefore I need the pasuk for itself to teach me that you require a Kayan for it. So therefore, it's not extra to be Memayit Hemshet V'Nituach. So that cannot be the source. That's not the source. Well, if you're telling me that it's not Makiv Kapara, and therefore I would have thought to say that you therefore don't need a Kayan, well then why do I need a limud for Hefshet V'Nituach? Why do I need a Hefshet V'Nituach? I should say the same thing, that it's something that is not Makiv Kapara. So why do I need a limud for this? Why do I need a special limud? Why wouldn't they say automatically that it doesn't require a kayan? The answer is that no. But now that we see from the placement of the fire that even though it's not Makiv Kapar, but it's Mikabol of Elach, so we see therefore that we don't say this for. And the overriding principle is that it's Mikabol of Elach, it's Boy Kahuna. So I therefore would have assumed, without a limud, I would have said that the Hefshet V'Nituach does require a kahuna. So I need a special limud to show me that it does not require a kayan. Ella, the Gemara says, in Chanam we have a different source. Ella mehach, from the following. It says, V'aruch b'nei Aaron kanim v'sanasachem esaroish v'esapad. It says that the kanim arranged the pieces of the head and the fat. So, Michti, Mikabol Elech Mitzvahs Kahuna, we know that Mikabol Elech has to be done by a kindness and Mitzvahs Kahuna. Why does it have to say Varuch B'nei Aaron HaKahanim? Why does it have to mention Kahanim over here? So, L'cher it's extra, Varuch Olamali. So, L'cher it's extra. Limute, Hefshet V'Nituach must be to say here we acquire a Kayan, but to exclude Hefshet V'Nituach, you don't need a Kayan. Frak the Gemara, maybe not. Maybe it's to exclude the cedar of the 2 blocks of wood, arranging the 2 blocks of wood. Maybe over there, that's where it's saying that you don't need a kayan. How do you know to exclude Hefshet V'Nituach? So Gemara says, it's more reasonable to assume that we're mayit something which is a korban, a zivcha, that's like what we're talking about over here. Here it says it's talking about the korban itself. The zivcha gufa is mistaber to say that this requires a kain, but something which is similar to this, which is also a zevach, Hefshet V'Nituach, does not require a korban. Or it says no, adarabba, sidur the kavas memayit. Maybe it's more reasonable to assume that it's memayit a sidur, arranging something. That a sidur, that we're talking about being masader, that over here you require a kayan for the sidur of the nesakim, but not for the wood. So how do I know to exclude the Hefshet V'Nituach? The Gemara says lo yisal k'daitach. No, that can't be the case. That can't be the case because the pasuk says Damar Mar v'hikrev akainas hakol mizbeach. It says he's makrev everything to the mizbeach. He brings it near to the mizbeach. What's it referring to? Zu ha'lochas evorim lekevesh. This refers to bringing the evorim, the pieces, to the ramp, to the kevesh. It's That's what it means vehikra. The Taisa Shem explains because the pasuk says v'aker v'karayim yirchas b'mayim vehikra v'kainis akol v'hikter amizbecha and oilahu isharech nechoyach l'Hashem. So it says vehikra and then it says vehikter. The hikter is the burning. So therefore, when it says hikra, it must mean bringing the ivorm to the kevish. So we darshan hoylachas ivorm lekevish hu d'bay kohuna. That requires a kohen. Because it's extra, it's not necessary to teach me that you need a kohen, it's mikabol of eila. So it's extra to teach me this requires a kohen, but halachas eitzim l'boy kahuna, but not bringing of the wood. Bringing of the wood doesn't require a kohen. But cedar shnei gzir and boy kahuna. But the halacha doesn't require a kohen, but the cedar, the arranging of the wood on the fire, on the pyre, that does require a kohen, as Taisus explained, because that's more on the mizbeach itself. It's a greater kedusha. That requires a kohen. It requires a kohen for that. So v'archu lamali. So when it says the pasuk of archu b'nei Aaron, a kind of restoration upon that they arranged the nusach, that it says a kohen, which is extra, which is redundant because it's mikabal of elach. I know it needs a kohen, so that's limute hefshet v'nituach. That it must be to exclude hefshet v'nituach. That does not require a kohen. Direct the Gemara. No, maybe I still need this pasuk legufei, as we'll see shortly, and the Gemara will explain what I do need that for. So that's not the source. So what is the source? Ella, the pasuk says, Ella v'hikter akayin esakol l'mayalsa. What does it say when it says v'hikter akayin esakol? What is that for? Limute hefshet v'nituach. So it says that he's makter everything. It causes it to burn, to come out in smoke. What it says a kayin. What do I need that for? L'chayr, I don't need that. L'chayr, it's extra. That's coming to teach you. Limute hefshet v'nituach. And this requires a kayin, but hefshet v'nituach does not require a kayin. Because I know the kabbalah of Elach, I know that the vehikter would require a kayin. So why does it say it? It's extra to be mind hefshet v'nituach. Now the Gemara is going to darshan the pasuk that we mentioned before that we need a legufei. We darshan this pasuk to teach us the following halacha. So the pasuk says v'hikra v'kainas akol mizbecha is makar akol mizbecha zu halachas evarm lekevish, as we mentioned before. So halachas evarm lekevish hu d'boy kahuna. We darshan that halachas evarm lekevish that requires a kahuna. Halachas eitzim loy kahuna. But bringing of the wood does not require a kahuna. Cedar shnei gzir eitzim by kahuna, but the cedar of shnei gzir eitzim that does require a kahuna. Now we darshan v'archu, it says it in the plural, v'archu shnaim. B'nei Aaron, it says in the plural, also therefore it's referring to two. HaKahanim, it's also plural, shnaim another two. So you have 3 times 2, that's 6. Lamanu l'tleh shaton shisha. That's a limit to teach us that the Talmud, the tleh, the keves, that it requires 6 kahanim to bring it up to the ramp. You need 6 kahanim to bring it up to the ramp. That's we darshan from the plurality of the pasuk. Amar Nuna, how could you say that? What do you mean? Ben Bakar. This pasuk is written in the context of a bakar, not of a keves, not of the Talmud. So how can you say it's referring to the keves, to the Talmud? Ben Bakar and the cattle of Ben Bakar requires 24 kahanim to bring it up to the keves. So how can you apply this to the Talmud? But he resolved this problem because the pasuk says it says that on the wood that's a fire on the mizbeach. Now here this is extra, this is redundant because previously the pasuk said that it's eish al mizbeach. So it's coming to teach you that what is this reference that we're talking about when we learn out that there's 6 kahanim involved. It's not referring to this case of the bakar. It's referring to a different case. What is something where the Torah mentions these eitzim mizbeach? That's by the Talmud. By the Talmud it says that's where it's mentioned by the Talmud. So it's to reference the Talmud where it says eitzim mizbeach, eish tu kadboy. That's a reference that this limud that we have for the 6 kahanim that bring the nesachim to the kevesh is not referring to the bakar, it's referring to the korban Talmud.